right now, anyone who is 16 or over is eligible for the vaccine in Alameda County. Like Dr. Rivera shared, though, the Pfizer vaccine is the only vaccine currently approved for 16 and 17-year-olds. But you are eligible if you're 16 or 17 and or end up. And also that means that many of your family members are also eligible now. So next slide. We wanted to share some resources with you so you know where to look. And then I have an offering. But first, I just want to share. So these are just a short list of some of the sites. You'll be hearing a lot of different information. Things are changing very rapidly, very quickly, very constantly. I feel like every day there's a new update about where to go. Um, so I think one of the first resources we want to share is the Coliseum mass vaccination site. And in order to look for appointments there, you can go to myturn, myturn.ca.gov. And that is a really large vaccination site at the Coliseum. And I would say, first I'll say that if you go to myturn.ca.gov, there won't always be appointments available, or you might see appointments at other places pop up there. Keep checking back. Appointments get loaded, sometimes every couple of days. So you may not see something at first, and then you'll check back a little bit later that day or the next day, and there will be appointments. Exactly. Keep checking. But I will say this, the site is going to be the Coliseum site for this week, the 15th through the 18th, so through Sunday, is going to be prioritizing students who live in 94601, 94603, 94605, 94606, 94607, and 94621. It's the same zip codes as under Fremont High School, you'll see down there. So if you live in those zip codes, or you know students who do, that you can reach out, and I will put an email. If you have any trouble finding a vaccine, I'm gonna put an email right here, health.wellness@ousd.org. Please send an email, and we will work with you to get you a code for you and for your family members. The codes will be somewhat limited, but we should have enough to get at least 500 students and some family members in for vaccines. So that is something that I want to offer, and we want to support you. So anyone on this call who's a student and you are interested in getting the vaccine for yourself or your family, and you live in those zip codes, if you have any trouble finding an appointment through MyTurn, please email me at health.wellness, health.wellness@ousd.org. And we will be sharing that information to schools as well today and tomorrow. Okay, so Fremont High School is another great site. I know many of you have heard that Fremont has a vaccination site. Anyone who lives in those same zip codes can call 510-2084-VAX. That's 510-2084-VAX. And that clinic is open Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays from 8 to 4. If you live in those zip codes, you can also walk up any of those days between 8 and 2. So that's a great resource for you and for your families. And the reason why those zip codes are prioritized is because those are the zip codes that have been most impacted by COVID. So there are a lot of other sites, including City of Berkeley, including UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital. I want you to know that because things are changing so quickly, we'll be updating at this link, the Family Central link. If someone can throw that into the chat as well, that would be great. This https /familycentral.ousd.org/health. That's where we're going to keep an updated list of where you and your family members can go to get vaccines. We'll also be doing a lot of outreach to school sites. We have a group of volunteers who are going to be calling families and helping to register for vaccine appointments. So you'll be hearing a lot more. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me, and we will support you as best we can. Any questions about vaccine access? And can move to the next slide.
I have one question. For students who might not live in that zip code but attend school in that zip code, does that make them eligible?
So these codes, my understanding is that these codes are eligible for, and for Fremont High, it's for people who live only in those zip codes. But for my turn, appointments may be available without a code, and in which case anyone can sign up for appointments regardless of where they live in Oakland. They just have to live in Alameda County. So anytime you see a Pfizer clinic or a clinic for Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, once it comes back, then you can register for those appointments at many sites. It's just that the Coliseum mass vaccination site for this week only is going to be prioritizing 16, 17, 18 plus who live in those zip codes. I hope that makes sense. That's just for the codes. But reach out to me, email me if you have any questions. Great, or throw questions in the Q&A, and then I will pass it over to Christian to share a little about the social media campaign that we've been working on.
So since the start of the school year, we've been trying to get out this social media campaign to expose more information to the youth and make sure they're doing everything they can to be as safe as possible. And while it's not up yet, we will be using the handle Open Youth versus COVID when it is up, and we will probably notify you when it is up.
And I checked a little bit earlier and it is up. There are no posts yet, but it's there. Okay, so I just did a random number generator, and unless there are any other questions, then I can announce the raffle. Any questions that we're missing? I see a question about 94602. 94602 isn't on the short list, but it doesn't mean that you're not eligible for a vaccine. You're still eligible for a vaccine if you're 16 and over in Alameda County. It just means that some of the that there are some ways that we are working to prioritize people who live in the most impacted zip codes, the zip codes that have been most impacted by COVID. But you're still eligible, and there's still options for getting access to the vaccine if you don't live in those zip codes. Any other questions? Anything else from the panelists that you want to share before we announce the raffle?
There's a couple questions coming in. One is, can I get it if I'm 15, or could I make my appointment early so when I turn 16?
So my understanding is no. You know, we, as the panelists mentioned earlier, we will know more about eligibility for 12 and up. Hopefully soon. The indication is that that is being submitted to the FDA for approval. And I don't know if we know an exact timeline for that, but stay tuned. I don't think you can schedule in advance of a birthday, but as soon as you turn 16, then you will be eligible, and you definitely can seek an appointment for vaccine then.
I suspect, and this is just a guess, but I suspect people 12 to 15 will become eligible this summer. Another question is, what vaccines does the Native American Health Center have, and will they have one for 16 plus years? The student who asked that, you can actually call the Native American Health Center site, and they'll be able to answer that question. And that's true for anybody and sort of any school-based health center. Another question was,
I can answer a little bit more of that question, I think. So right now, I'm not sure about the main clinic for Native American Health Center, but there was a pop-up with FEMA and Cal OES that had Johnson and Johnson. So I'm not sure what's going to be happening with those pop-ups, but we can definitely share more information out with students and families about pop-ups, particularly because there are going to be a lot of pop-ups and other opportunities. We may even partner with the county to host some vaccine clinics on some of our school sites for students. So definitely look out for that.
And then another question is, can people of any age get the vaccine if they live in said zip codes?
Yep, 16 and up.